Welcome, everyone. This is our August Learn and Earn for 2018, and we're very excited to be here with you today. Today, we are talking about emotional eating, the connection between food and mood. All right, so let me ask you, have you ever turned to food when you are stressed, lonely, bored, or even excited or happy? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And our goal and our desire is to bring awareness and understanding to this topic. So before we begin, I'm going to pray for us before we begin. Father, I pray for life, for hope, and for tangible change to come as a result of this Learn and Earn. I pray that you would give us ears to hear, a heart to receive, and give us a will to respond, Lord. I ask this all in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, so today your presenters are
Ellie Lang. I am the Creation Health Consultant at Kissimmee and Celebration. I'm so happy to be talking about this subject with you guys today. It's very near and dear to my heart, and I will talk more about that just shortly as we go along.
And my name is Amanda Saxon. I'm the Creation Health Consultant for East Orlando, Maitland, and Lake Destiny, and we're excited to be here with you guys. All right, so just a few quick announcements here. We want to tell you to share this with your coworkers. The virtual option closes on August 31st, and it's open throughout the whole month of August. So if you find this beneficial, tell people about it. Also, your points will be loaded at the end of the quarter, so just bear with us as we get those uploaded. But if you do the survey at the end, you will be able to get your points. Also, you need to log into WebMD to check your points in order to get that $250 that you can earn, and the deadline is October 30th. So make sure you do that. If you have any questions, you can always email our inbox at creationhealthemployees.com, at floridahospital.com, and you can also go to our website with everything there. All right, so let's get started with this Learn and Earn.
Okay, so our objectives for today's webinar is going to be, first of all, what is emotional eating anyways? I think we hear it a lot, and we're going to dive in deeper to that. The next part, we're going to talk about signs and symptoms, and of course, we're going to leave you with some practical tips that you can take moving forward. And like Amanda just said, share these with your coworkers, friends, families, and just improve the lives around us.
All right, so let's look at an example here. Let's imagine that every person in the world got a free new car when they turned 18. So there are no strings attached, no hidden fees, no tiny clauses in the contract. You sign it and it's yours. And it's called a life car. And it's called a life car because you only get one until you die. You can't purchase another, and it needs to be fueled each day. All right, so let me ask you, which type of gas do you think we should putting in our life car to make it go the distance? Well, I'd say the best. What do you think, Ellie?
I would say I want premium.
Premium, yes. And I think we can all relate this to food, and we have to think about which type of food are we putting into our bodies. Are we putting in the quote-unquote bad fuel with the quick, fast food, processed foods, or are we fueling our body with healthy foods that give us the best results? And so the bottom line here is that we want to choose the best fuel, because how well our bodies operate depends to a very large extent on the type of nutritional fuel that we decide to utilize. And along with this here, there's a verse in scripture from 1 Corinthians 10:31 that says, "Therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God." I think this is really interesting, because what does it mean to eat and drink for the glory of God? Well, it means that whatever we do, we can please the Lord, and we can use our bodies to be the best that they can be. We also have to recognize that we need strong, healthy bodies to fulfill God's plan for our life. And our bodies are a temple, and we can choose what we use to fuel them with for optimal health and longevity.
I love that. Thank you, Amanda. So, as I mentioned, this topic is very personal to me, and my mouth is already watering right now looking at these cookies. So, so a little bit about me. I have struggled with food and my relationship with food for most of my life. I've fluctuated with my weight. I've actually lost over 100 pounds, and keeping that off has been a journey, to say the least. When you grow up with habits, it's really hard to make changes, especially when we're surrounded by food all the time, and we have to eat to survive. And this image up here of the cookies, I have a little story I want to share, but when I really had a moment that I realized what it really means to have a relationship with food. So I moved to Florida about a year ago from Oregon. So I moved across the country, and I didn't really know anyone. I had a few family here, but other than that, I kind of ventured out. And there was a time where I figured out about these Gideon's Bakehouse cookies. And I swear they should give me some commission because I share about them all the time. They're amazing. And there was a time when I was feeling really down and lonely, and I needed something to do. So I got in my car, and where did I head? I went to Gideon's Bakehouse to go get myself a chocolate chip cookie. Well, as I got it, I, was not in a good mood. I got the cookie, went into the car, and I finished the cookie within like 2 minutes of leaving the place. And I just felt really sick and gross afterwards. And I was like, what is that about? These cookies are so good, yet I felt awful. And I finally had a moment where I realized the reason why I was eating. And it wasn't that I was hungry. It wasn't that I needed that fuel. It was that I was actually lonely. And it was a way to distract myself. And from that moment, I've really had a change with my relationship with food, because I pay a lot of attention to how I feel before I eat. And that's one thing we're going to be talking a lot about today. So research has been showing that our moods and our attitudes and our emotions, our thinking abilities, it's all affected by what we actually eat and what we put in our mouths every day. So I think this is so important as we move forward and figuring out what type of eater are we? And Amanda's going to talk about that.
Thank you for sharing, Ellie. I think that's a story that a lot of us can relate to, and those Gideon's Bakehouse cookies are so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about what type of eater are you. And as we go through this, I kind of want you to relate to what you feel like what you are. And of course, we can be many of these, but let's just go through this. So the first one is the unconscious eater. This is someone who eats while doing something else and doesn't even think really about what they're putting in their mouths. The next one is the chaotic eater. This is someone who leads an overscheduled life and who eats on the go whenever time is available type pattern. Also, the refuse not, waste not type of eater, the one who eats whenever food is available and often cleans a plate, regardless of actually feeling full. So you may even feel full, but if there's something there, I don't know about you, Belly, but I can relate to this one because I don't want to waste food, right? Especially if it's free, right?
You're right.
That's the worst.
I can relate to a lot of these.
The next one is the emotional eater, and this one is what we're going to be talking about more in depth, but this one's triggered by emotions rather than hunger. Also, the careful eater. This is someone who is really vigilant about what foods they put in their bodies and very nutritious conscious. Also, the professional dieter, quote unquote professional, because they are perpetually dieting and they don't eat to promote their health, but only really to lose weight. Also, the next one is the intuitive eater, and they make food choices without experiencing guilt, that they eat when they're hungry and they respect their sense of fullness and enjoy the pleasure of eating. So again, these are not good or bad. These are just different types of eating. So, but I also want to share too that number 4, I think we can all agree is the most common one. And that's really the one that we're going to be touching more on today. So let's look at some of these other ways that we can emotionally eat.
All right, so I love this picture. I can totally, this is me. Stressed is dessert spelled backwards. Absolutely. Let's look at some more. Oh, okay, so there's one slice. I'll just have one slice of pizza. Oh, here, so we got the devil on one side, angel on the other, kind of pulling us to make good decisions or bad decisions. What do? Oops, you caught me eating my feelings, and they taste delicious. I love that. And then, of course, that mindless eating when we're just on the couch and we're spending hours on Netflix. So emotional eating. What is emotional eating, though? So emotional eating means that you're turning to food for comfort and to eat for reasons other than being hungry. If you're an emotional eater, you might not listen to your body's natural hunger or the sense of fullness. You might just kind of ignore that. Also, might be eating more than you need or want. Emotional eating can also really interfere with the choices that you make, depending on what mood you are in.
All right, so let's look at some signs of emotional eating. The first one would be stress, right? Either at work and or personal. This can be relationship conflicts. I mean, job satisfaction or work stress. What about financial pressures or even health problems? I mean, there's so many different things that we may be stressed out about, and oftentimes we turn to food for that.
The next one is eating when you're not hungry or when you're full. So there's a lot of reasons for this. You know, it could be to relax or you could be bored. I know this is me a lot of the times. I eat to entertain myself. Or lack of sleep. Sometimes we eat just to stay awake. And then snacking while in the car or, you know, while watching TV.
The next one is you may eat to avoid something. So this is where you may procrastinate and instead of working on that project or getting that task done, oh, let me just go into the kitchen or the fridge and see what's there to eat. Also, really eating to avoid what needs to be done, even your purpose in life, and even neglecting your spiritual health as well.
And of course, to soothe feelings. So I kind of touched on this with my story, but you know, that feeling of loneliness or maybe just for some comfort. You know, we always hear the term comfort food. Well, that stems from the fact that it actually is comforting. Anxious, fear, depression, boredom. And food can really be a distraction from those feelings and kind of take you away from that.
And we can eat to reward ourselves, right? So if you think you have, oh man, that was a really tough job or a tough assignment from work, or, oh, you know what? I need some ice cream or candy or popcorn or whatever. Insert whatever is your weakness there. But we celebrate. We eat to celebrate. We give ourselves reward, whether it's a small or big reward, right? And it's fun to celebrate with friends too. And so Ellie and I, we're not telling you not to eat or reward yourself. That's okay. But these are just signs of emotional eating. If we're not aware of it, it can really become a problem. And I want to make a note here too about moderation too. But I love the quote. There's something someone says about everything in moderation, even moderation.
Even moderation. I love that. How true is that?
Okay, so now let's look at some different science stuff here. All right, so have you ever noticed how stress makes you hungry? So it's not just in your mind, actually. So when your stress is chronic, as it often is in our fast-paced world, would you agree? Our body produces high levels of the stress hormone cortisol. So when cortisol triggers cravings for salty, sweet, and fried foods that give you a burst of energy and pleasure. And the more uncontrolled stress in your life, the more likely you are to turn to food for an emotional relief. So there are a lot of things going on in your brain that trigger these emotions. So let's look at this powerful organ in our body. All right, so if you were to suck out all the moisture of your brain and broke it down into its nutritional content, it would contain fats, proteins, amino acids, glucose, and micronutrients. And so each component has an impact on your brain functioning, even on your development and your mood and your energy. I don't know about you, Ellie, but I think that's fascinating.
It blows my mind.
Our brains are so cool. So also the human brain only makes up about 2% of our body weight, but get this. It uses up to 20% of our energy resources. Wow. Also, a change in mental function, aka your emotions, is one of the primary signals of nutrient deficiency. So oftentimes we may not realize the dietary changes that can occur in our brain structure, which then can lead to an altered behavior.
All right, so we're going to talk about this, how we break that cycle when we do get caught up in eating with our emotions, and kind of how do we become, first of all, aware of this. So the first step is to understand why you're eating. Where is it stemming from? What is the emotion you're feeling? And really identify those emotional triggers that we just briefly talked about before about, are we eating because we're stressed? Are we eating because we're trying to soothe some feelings? Are we eating because we're avoiding something? Really identify what your trigger is. And it can always change. It really does vary. I think this last part is very important. We want to pause and ask ourselves, am I hungry? Right? And this is the leading question to figure out, okay, if I'm not actually hungry, then what am I feeling? And then we can address that. But the next part too, we do need to eat when we're hungry, okay? We have to eat. Like Amanda just said, our brains are using 20% for our energy. We need this. So ask ourselves, am I hungry? And then here's this hunger scale, right? So when we're eating, so this is when you're actually eating, where are you at on this scale? When we get to about the 6 and we're satisfied, do we continue to keep eating to where we feel stuffed or even sick? I mean, I think about the holidays on Thanksgiving when, I moved away from home, and when I go back home and I get my mom's cooking, I eat till I'm a number 10. That's for sure, right? But we want to really look at, when we're eating, we should be at a 3 because we don't want to be extremely hungry either, because then we're going to overeat or even make poor decisions.
Awesome. So let's look at some of the differences between emotional and physical hunger. So emotional hunger comes on suddenly. Physical hunger comes on gradually. Emotional hunger may feel like it needs to be satisfied instantly. Physical hunger, truth is, it can wait. Mm-hmm. Also, emotional hunger is where you crave specific comfort foods. Physical hunger, you're open to options. Lots of things sound good. Mm-hmm. Maybe even an apple or a banana.
Yep, I tell myself all the time, if a salad sounds good, then I'm probably hungry.
Yeah. And then emotional hunger too, it isn't satisfied even on a full stomach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other issues going on there. Also, physical hunger is you stop when you're full. You don't keep eating, like Ellie showed that scale there. All right, so now let's look at 7 practical tips to help with this. The first one is to plan and prepare. So when we plan and prepare, we want to think about, what does planning look like for you? So thinking about on a day off, can you go to the store or plan to bring a snack to work, or just making sure you think through it before you before you emotionally eat. Also, the next one is we want to eat whole foods. God gave us the foods that we need to eat, and we want to make sure that we are eating those whole foods rather than those processed foods that satisfy for the short term, but not in the long term. So research actually shows that a plant-based diet is the foundation for optimal health. So this means fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, anything that is whole food, that's a whole food, can really help with that too.
And then keeping a food journal. This is one way to really figure out what triggers your emotional eating. So oftentimes we keep a food journal and we want to just log all the things that we are eating throughout the day. But it's also important to kind of track your mood as well as you're eating. So, if you just got off work and you had a really rough day, kind of journal that, write that out, and explain kind of what foods you're craving, but yet, what you actually do eat. And this way, it's a lot easier that we aren't mindless eating, right? So oftentimes if we're bored, we're eating and we'll take a whole bag of popcorn or something to the couch with us, and we eat without even realizing how much we've gone through. So keeping that food journal will keep you accountable.
Another practical thing is to have accountability. So maybe call a friend, or maybe if you or your friend or even your department or family members are struggling with this, maybe you guys can get together and really help hold each other accountable.
Take a short break. Get up, get moving, get yourself kind of distracted, and then if you come back and you're still hungry, then I'm sure you really do need some fuel.
Also, try to recover from stress. Really take time to stop and think about it. What is really bothering you? What is the core issue? And really, how can you deal with it?
And then last but not least, get sleep. I would say that this would actually be probably one of the most important of these 7 tips, because if we aren't getting enough sleep, or quality sleep and quantity sleep, then our brain produces hormones that actually tell us we're hungry, right? So I mentioned that sometimes I eat just to stay awake, but that's actually because our hormones are telling us keep eating, and then we eat and they will keep telling us you're not full. Okay, so getting that quality sleep and getting enough sleep is so important to make sure that we're actually being able to make those good decisions of what we're eating and how much we're eating also. All right, food is fuel, not therapy. All right, and this one, I really think that it's so important that we understand that food is the fuel for our life, right? Who here, I know we're supposed to eat to live, but who here lives to eat? I know I love food and I love to eat. I have a huge passion. I love to cook. I also find a lot of my activities involve food, right? But really understanding that the food is our fuel for our life. Also, food should make us feel good, okay? If we're eating and we're craving, whatever your guilty pleasure is, if that is going to make you feel good, eat it, enjoy it. But the minute you start to feel kind of gross or sick or stuck, we want to stop, okay? So really reminding yourself we're eating to feel good.
All right, so let's look at some of those ways we can feel good with our food that we eat. So the first one is we want to eat regularly. This will keep our blood sugar level steady so you do not become tired or depressed. And also try foods that will release energy slowly, like food high in protein. Also, we need to eat breakfast too and eat regular meals throughout the day too. Well, eat your three main meals, but then be able to eat those regularly.
Next is portion control. This one, we want to make sure that we're not overeating to put us in that slump that we feel, that Thanksgiving slump, where we just nap the rest of the day. We just want to make sure that we're eating the correct portions, also making sure we're eating enough. Because if we undereat, also, we're going to feel sluggish, tired, cranky, and that's just not going to help with our mood.
And we also want to get the right amount of macronutrients, those right amount of fats, proteins, carbohydrates. Remember that picture we showed from the brain? Our brain is made up of these nutrients. And so we need to make sure we're feeding our brain with the right nutrients.
The next one is to eat the rainbow. And this one is so important because we talked a lot about moderation, but it's also so important that we have balance, right? We want to get all those different types. We don't want to just eat all of one color. We want a variety of vegetables. We want a variety of proteins and a variety of colors on our plate. So it should really look like a rainbow. And don't get this confused with Taste the Rainbow.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the next one is a little controversial, but limit caffeine and sugar. The reality is the science shows that caffeine and sugar can make you feel anxious or depressed and it can disturb your sleep, especially if you're having it the last thing at night. It can also give you withdrawals. So thinking about your coffee, your tea, your chocolate, Coca-Cola, energy drinks. But even just thinking about just cutting down just a little bit can help too.
And then, of course, again, last but not least, we want to drink more water. So water is going to help you feel energized just as much as, drinking a cup of coffee. If we're fueling our bodies with enough water, the majority of our body is water anyway. So we want to make sure that we're getting enough of that. And that can also help us, if we're not sure if we're hungry or not, drink a big glass of water before and then wait about 30 minutes and see if you're still hungry.
All right, so just some foods for thought here. I want to encourage you to ask God for help. God is involved in every area of our lives, and He loves you so much. And so often we don't realize that food has become something that we turn to when going through the ups and downs of life. But I really encourage you to ask God to help you in this area if you're really struggling. So you can simply say this. Say, God, I have a problem. I have an issue when it comes to food. I confess it. And I ask your help. And He is ready and willing and He is able to help you.
Educate yourself. This one is important. We sometimes don't know really what to eat or how it's making us feel. So knowledge is power. And the more we know, the more we're able to make better choices for ourselves. Know things that are healthy versus unhealthy. When you're at the grocery store, kind of know what aisles to stay away from if you know that self-control is kind of hard for you when you're in the grocery store. Don't buy it and don't have it at your house if it's tempting, and replace it with something good. Take out the bad, replace it with good.
Also, another food for thought here is to enjoy meals with others. We want to experience being with other people when we enjoy our meals, but that really requires us to slow down and be intuitive when eating, and really build those relationships when we eat with people. Okay, so I want to bring us back to what we showed you at the beginning, thinking about this life car, thinking about what type of gas are we putting into our bodies. Are we putting in the premium fuel or are we putting in the bad fuel for us? So that brings us to our secret phrase.
I know you've been waiting for this part, and it is...
Hold on, before we mention this, I just want to clarify that in order to get points, 5 points for the Learn and Earn, you have to complete this Learn and Earn, then take the survey, and this should be in all of the steps that you received either in the email or on the Eventbrite that we have. And so make sure you input the secret phrase into the survey to get those 5 points.
So the secret phrase that you're going to put in the survey is food is fuel.
Dun, dun, dun. Food is the fuel. Yes. Fill up that life car. All right, so in summary, we talked about what is emotional eating. We talked about the signs and the symptoms to help you be aware of what you may be feeling or experiencing when we may emotionally eat. And also we talked about some practical tips that can help you as well.
And of course, we want to leave you guys with some resources to move forward after this. We have Weight Watchers. We partner with them. Florida hospital employees get a discount. We have a program, New Day, New Way. And we also have 2 Creation Health classes coming to campuses near you. We have the Stress Recovery Effect and the Rest of Your Life. And you can register for all of these things through our website, creationhealthemployees.com/programs. And if you have any questions too, contact your Creation Health consultant on your campus. You can find that on the Creation Health Employees page under Team, and find your Creation Health consultant and ask them questions. That's what we are here for. We're here to support you and cheer you on, and whatever your goals are, big or small, we are here to support you.
All right, so I'm going to leave you with this one next step. So what is one next step that you can take as a result of what you learned from this Learn and Earn? Is it planning and preparing your meals? Is it keeping a food journal? Is it having an accountability partner? And so all those things that we talked about, choose one thing that you can do as a next step. All right, Ellie, do you have anything else you want to share?
I don't. I am just so happy that we were able to share this with you guys today. I hope it touched your life and it will help you touch others too.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to put the secret phrase in the survey. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.